What's up guys, welcome back to the Gaming Careers YouTube channel. We're a YouTube channel completely dedicated to teaching you how to live stream and create content within the gaming niche. So there's loads of tutorials here helping you learn how to do all of that. And today's video, we're looking at capturing from a games console using a capture card. So if you wanted to stream from your Xbox or your PlayStation through OBS and through your computer, that's what we're going to be covering in this video, and then streaming to Twitch or YouTube from there. Now you might be thinking, hey, I can already stream from my Xbox, I can already stream from my PlayStation. There's an app, a Twitch app, and through there I can stream my gameplay. But it doesn't really allow the same amount of customization as it does if you have a capture card and you're streaming through your computer. You might be able to do some basic things with your webcam and some basic microphone options, but you can't really get the same amount of customization as you can if you use OBS and a capture card. So if you want to have, alerts, donation alerts, subscriber alerts, now playing information, countdowns, your Twitch chat embedded, basically all the cool things that we teach on this channel, you're going to need to use OBS, and to be able to capture your console, you're going to need to use a capture card. There are a number of different companies that are now producing these capture cards. Elgato, Ava Media, Blackmagic, Roxio, Razer, loads and loads more. Because the streaming market is becoming more and more lucrative, so a lot of these hardware companies are now building capture cards. The cards themselves also come in a variety of different shapes and sizes. You have some that are made for desktop computers and they plug directly into the motherboard through the PCI slot, and you also have ones that are more on the go and laptop friendly that plug directly into USB ports. The card that we are going to be looking at and installing today is Elgato's HD60 Pro. Now this is a really commonly used capture card. It's an internal one, so it's going to fit directly into our desktop computer, into the motherboard. It's really popular, very critically acclaimed, and it's just had a massive drop in price actually because Elgato released its bigger brother, the 4K 60 Pro. And this card is capable of capturing 1080p 60 frames per second at 60 megabits per second. In this video we're going to be covering the installation of the card, the setup both in the Elgato software and OBS Studio so that you can get it set up properly for your streaming, and we'll also be covering some common troubleshooting issues, and of course we'll have some examples of some console footage that it has captured. Let's jump in. So in the box of the Elgato HD60 Pro, you're going to get the actual capture card itself, which is pretty small. I expected it actually to be a little bit bigger, which is handy for those of you that have messy builds and not the greatest cable management like mine. You also get the HDMI cable. So you only get one HDMI cable, and you're going to need a second if you're wanting to capture from a console, but I'd imagine those console gamers already have an HDMI cable that goes from their console to their screen, so you can of course use that. The HD60 Pro plugs directly into a PCI Express slot on your motherboard. Now the card only requires a 1X slot, so if you have one of these smaller PCI Express slots on your motherboard, you can plug it into that one. But of course if you don't, it can plug into the bigger PCI Express slots just fine. Make sure that the card is seated properly within the slot, and then screw in the attachment at the top to make sure it stays in place. Now the card, as I said, comes with an included HDMI cable. So what we're going to do with this cable is connect the output HDMI of our console, and yes, I am using an Xbox 360. I know I'm completely out of date. It does of course work with the PS4, Xbox One, all of the latest consoles. But you're going to plug the first HDMI cable into the output of your console, and then into the input, which is the HDMI port labelled in on the Elgato card. Next, take a second HDMI cable, plug it into the HDMI port labelled out on the card, and attach the other end of the HDMI cable to your monitor, which you're going to use to play on your console with. Now to configure the streaming software, we need to be on our computer, and for this kind of setup it's quite useful to have a second monitor. This way you can have one connected to your PC where you can monitor OBS and make sure that your stream is running nicely, and the second monitor can be connected to your Elgato capture card and your console, and you can actually play the console game on that monitor. The first thing that we're going to need to do is download the Elgato game capture software. I've included a link to it in the description below, and I'm also popping it up on screen now. Download the software, install it as you would with any other piece of software, and then run when we are finished with our installation. Once this is done, we're actually going to set up OBS, And it's really important to note here that you need to close the Elgato Game Capture software to be able to use OBS. Otherwise you'll get an error message letting you know that the device is already in use. So again, close the Elgato Game Capture software once it's been installed and open up OBS. Choose the scene in which you want to have the console captured into, and then come across to the sources list and click the little plus icon and select Video Capture Device from the list of options. Name it whatever you'd like to name it. I'm going to name mine Elgato HD60 Pro just because it's what it's called and it's going to be easy for me to understand which source is which. The next window that pops up is going to let us choose the device that you want to capture. Select the drop down menu next to device and find the device named Elgato Game Capture HD. All the options below this don't need to be changed right now, so we can just press OK and hopefully we should see a preview of the console's output in OBS. To configure the settings on the Elgato HD60 Pro, what we need to do is right click on the source, select Properties and then select Configure Video. This should now open up a new settings window from Elgato. Here we should firstly select the type of device that is plugged into the input of the capture card. There's a drop-down list of some consoles and devices that are used most frequently, so find the console that you have plugged in and select that option. Next we can choose between the standard and the expanded HDMI color ranges. Usually standard will look better, but you can instantly see the preview window change the color ranges, so play around with both and see which one you want to choose. For the profile option, we want to select the resolution that a console or video device is outputting. If you're unsure, it's probably best to leave this at HD 1080 and ticking the Allow 60 FPS box. Note that this isn't actually going to be what OBS is using to stream, it's simply the resolution that the Elgato capture card is using to capture your console. You can leave the next two checkboxes unchecked as they shouldn't be required. Now the next section allows you to play around with the brightness, the contrast, the saturation and the hue of the picture that you're getting from your console. Again, this is totally personal preference, so play around with the options, see the live preview update and choose whatever you think looks best for the game or the console that you're capturing. Finally, we have an option to change the audio levels of the console or video device, so come in here and turn it up a bit if your console is too quiet on your stream. Once you're all happy, you can click done and your settings will be saved. Now hopefully what you can now see in the OBS preview is exactly the same as what your monitor that's connected to your console via your capture card is also showing. So it should be a live preview, there should be no delay, no lag, you should be able to play completely normally and OBS should be showing the exact preview of your console. Now it's totally up to you to add all your overlays, your webcams, donation alerts and everything else you want to add on top of this source. If you need to watch some videos and describing how to do all those cool things, then this is the right channel. We've got loads of videos adding overlays, webcams, now playing music, Twitch chat, all those kind of things. So just have a look around this channel if there's anything that you want to add on top. But basically customize your stream as much as you want to make it look exactly as you want to. One thing to remember is that you need to have the capture card at the bottom of all of your sources so that you can have all those other layers appearing above it. So just make sure that you are having the capture card right down at the bottom of the sources. You can move it up and down using these arrows. Worth noting that if you are a streamer that streams both PC and console games, you can add both your capture card and your game capture source into the same scene and then just enable or disable the one that you wish to stream by clicking this little eye icon next to the one that you want to hide or display. That is pretty much it, and hopefully you haven't had any issues setting up your console. It's worth noting that if you are capturing a PS4, you may need to play around with the HDCP settings before your Elgato Game Capture can actually capture your console. So to be able to do that, make sure that your PS4 firstly is directly connected to your TV, so not connected through your capture card. Then visit the Settings System section of the PS4 interface and turn off Enable HDCP. After that, you can then connect your PS4 to your Elgato capture card to your monitor, and everything should work exactly as I've described in this video. I've also added a link to a help article on the Elgato website down in the description of this video, in case you run into any sort of playback issues. Super rare, but some of the more common ones have been added to this help article, and there are some ways to resolve those issues. That's pretty much it, guys. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you have found this video useful and you now have your capture card set up with your console and a good looking stream that's using OBS rather than just the standard software that's included on the consoles, because that's a much more professional look. I realise that the majority of the content on this channel is sort of focused around PC streaming with software like OBS. So this is probably my first proper console-based guide. Let me know in the comments if this has been useful, and I'll obviously create more content based around capture cards and things to do with console streaming, as well as all the PC streaming guides that I am obviously going to keep creating. Lastly, I would like to send a huge thanks to my Patreons. Last week I quietly announced just through my Twitter that I had released a Patreon page where people can support me in the creation of these videos and tutorials for the Gaming Careers channel, and these wonderful people have already pledged some support, so I'd like to send a huge thanks. If you would like to check out my Patreon page, I have loads of different perks at the different levels and different tiers, and also join my Discord. A link is down in the description to my Discord. We've already got nearly 100 members, all helping each other in the streaming and content creation markets of gaming, and it's really exciting what's happening there, so I definitely recommend joining my Discord and checking out my Patreon if you'd like to. With all that said, I will see you subscribers in the next video. Peace.